All right, we'd like to go ahead and start with the program. My name is John Guidugli, and I'm the board chair for 2012 of the Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. Tonight, I'd like to say a few words to thank our sponsors for the event and for the presenting sponsors. We're pleased to have Community First Solutions as this evening's event sponsor. Community First Solutions is the nonprofit parent company of Colonial, Community Behavioral Health, Community First Pharmacy, and Partners in Crime. These individual companies are diverse in the services they provide, yet connected through their mission to enhance the core wellness for individuals of all ages throughout Butler County and beyond. In addition to being one of the largest nonprofit organizations in the area, Community First Solutions is one of the largest employers in the city. With more than 650 employees, they impact the lives of over 40,000 individuals annually. As an organization focused on community advocacy and leadership, Community First Solutions is proud to congratulate Mike Dingledine as Citizen of the Year for his commitment to enhancing the quality of life in Hamilton. Please join me in thanking our event sponsor, Community First Solutions. Our presenting sponsor this evening is Miller Coors. For more than 20 years, the Miller Coors Trenton Brewery has been a dedicated employer of the Ohio community and continuously raises the bar on product quality. Employees brew, package, and ship millions of barrels of some of America's favorite brands, including Coors Light, Miller Lite, and Miller Genuine Draft. Please join me in thanking our presenting sponsor, Miller Coors. Now we will have the election of officers and trustees, and I'll ask those who are being elected to please stand as your name is called. And we're going to try one more time to ask you to hold your applause until the end. Pursuant to the bylaws of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, the nominating committee has filed its report for the trustees and officers, which is located in your program. As chair, Heather Lewis. First Vice Chair, Denise Quinn. Second Vice Chair, Mike Dingledine. Treasurer, Don Baker. Past Chair, John Guidugli. Trustees being elected for a 3-year term, Chris Cannell, Miami University, Hamilton. Ed Larkin, Rose Automotive. Denise Quinn, Miller Coors. Cheryl Vitek, Vora Technology Park. Craig Wilkes, Wilkes Insurance Agency. Mark Zollner, Community First Solutions. I would like to entertain a motion to elect this slate of officers and trustees. Thank you. Could I get a second?
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. They're elected. Let's give them a hand. Don't you wish all elections were that simple? The politicians do. Now I'd ask you to please join me in welcoming the following newly appointed members to the Board of Trustees. Again, I'll ask them to stand, and again, hold your applause until the end. Don Ryan with Butler Processing and Ryan's Tavern. Lisa Schaefer from FinPan. Joel Schmidt. Ron Smith with American Printing. And Rob Weigel with Weigel Funeral Home. Now I'd like to ask the entire board, 2013 Board of Trustees, to please stand and be recognized. Thank you, and I'm sure that that this board will do an excellent job as we move forward into 2013. If I take just a second to look back at the past year, I want to take an opportunity to thank all of the staff of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, the board, and the members for a really good year I think we just completed. It was kind of an interesting year because it was a year of change, and a lot of times change can be a challenge for organizations. As many of you know, the city recently completed a new strategic plan, and part of that plan involved changes for organizations in the community, including the Chamber of Commerce. And I'm pleased to say that over the last year, we've worked through understanding and embracing those changes and are now a stronger partner with the city and with the other partners in the community to really work hard to move Hamilton forward in the future. So again, I want to thank you for all of your support as we did this. I want to thank those people who were directly involved and those of you who are behind the scenes supporting this as well. I think we really did accomplish a lot and are poised to move forward. And speaking of moving forward, it's now my pleasure to introduce the incoming chairperson, Heather Lewis, Director of Milliken & Fitton Law Firm. Congratulations.
Stay up here.
That's what I thought.
All right. Well, as my first official act, it's my pleasure to thank and recognize our outgoing chair, John Guidugli. The Chamber's done great things this year under John's able leadership, and all who know John know that he is committed to business development into the city of Hamilton, and he has spent countless hours this year enhancing and improving the quality of life in the city of Hamilton. So we have a small token of appreciation for John, and I hope that you will all join me in thanking him for his dedicated service to the Chamber.
Good luck.
Thank you. I want to reiterate John's thanks to the Board of Trustees and the staff of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. All of these good people work hard on a daily basis to attract and to retain and to grow business and to advocate for your business at all levels of government. We have so many exciting things planned for Hamilton right now, and I'm looking forward to a great year in 2013. Just know that this is your Chamber of Commerce, and to borrow a phrase from our Citizen of the Year, the dedication and commitment of businesses like yours to our chamber is what makes Hamilton a great place to live, to learn, to work, and to play. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to a great year. And now it is my distinct pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker, Dr. Santa Jeremy Ono. Dr. Ono is the 28th president at the University of Cincinnati. After serving on an interim basis for 2 months, he was appointed to the presidency on October 23rd, 2012. President Ono first arrived at UC in 2010, serving 2 years as the Senior Vice President for Academic Affairs and Provost. As Provost, he led the development of an academic master plan aligned to the university's strategic plan, which will mean an initial investment of approximately $10 million toward long-term strategic goals set for completion in UC's bicentennial 2019. Dr. Ono also serves as professor of pediatrics within UC's College of Medicine and professor of biology in the McMicken College of Arts and Sciences. He has held various faculty and administrative positions in institutions nationally and internationally, including Emory University, Johns Hopkins University, Harvard Medical School, and University of College London. Dr. Ono's service outside of UC includes board of directors of the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra, the Japan American Society, and the Alois Alzheimer's Society. So please help me in welcoming Dr. Ono.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Hamilton. How are you guys doing? You're looking pretty wonderful tonight. What a wonderful banquet. It really is an honor to be invited to speak to such a distinguished group of people. And a lot of you are actually Bearcats. And let's do that again. Yay. Wow. That's impressive. You know, there are 18,000 University of Cincinnati alumni here in Hamilton, more than the entire city of Dayton. There are only 8,000 UC alums in Dayton. There are 18,000 in Hamilton. So this is Bearcat country. I want to thank you, Heather, for the kind introduction. Congratulations to the Citizen of the Year, Mike Dingledine. He represents a great example of the kind of graduates we want to create at the University of Cincinnati. And while Mike is not an alum, we know that UC is in his blood because his father is a UC grad. Now, if it sounds like there are a lot of you who are actually Bearcats, and you probably know that I usually don't look like this. And the reason is that, I'll explain it. There's this guy called Marty Brennaman. You know who Marty Brennaman is? He's a Hall of Fame announcer for the Cincinnati Reds, as you know. And I think his son is also a pretty famous announcer as well. And I usually have quite a bit more hair. And Marty Brennaman, as you know, this summer, when the Reds were on fire, they were red hot, he said if the Reds win 10 games in a row, he's going to actually shave his hair off his head. And they actually won 10 games. And remember that? It was an amazing season. And there's a guy called Jack Cassidy. Some of you probably know him, CEO of Cincinnati Bell. And he said, you know, Marty, instead of just shaving off your hair, you should do something good for the community. He said, I know this charity called the Dragonfly Foundation. It's a new foundation. And he said, you know, they could use some help. You're a well-known guy. You know, maybe after one of those games at Great American Ballpark when there's a lot of people still around, maybe you could have people donate to the Dragonfly Foundation. And he raised $30,000 that day for the Dragonfly Foundation. And the Dragonfly Foundation, the story of it is really, really touching to me. There's a boy that I've gotten to know who's my hero, actually. His name is Matt Knightsky. I don't know if you know him. If you don't know him, go on YouTube and look up Marty Brennaman and look up Santa Ono. And you can see the two of us losing our hair. But next to us is this remarkable young man who at the age of 10 almost died twice at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital because he had Hodgkin's lymphoma. He really is an amazing young man. He's now 12. I'm working on him, hoping he's going to actually become a Bearcat one day. And what happened was that, you know, things are real expensive in society these days. College education is expensive. Hospital treatment is expensive. And you know, when you have young kids trying to make ends meet, sometimes you're not ready for something to happen. And you know, the real mark of a society, of a person, is when you step up and help others in need. Well, after Matt actually conquered cancer, he and his mom and a friend got together and said, you know, it was tough when he had chemotherapy and he lost all his hair, when he was struggling. They got together, and Matt said, let's do something for other kids like me. And so what they did is they created a foundation. It struggled for a while. Whenever you're in a new foundation, there's a lot of competition for donations and charitable gifts, but they stuck by it. And Marty Brennaman, when he shaved his hair, he helped that foundation, that new foundation, reach a level of $300,000 of gifts in that one year. And that money is used for families that are suddenly having to be near a kid who's being treated for cancer at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. That money is used for helping to tutor kids while they're sick. That money is used to buy laptops and TVs for poor kids so they can smile. That's all done because this hero of mine, Matt, 10-year-old boy, wanted to do something for other kids like him who didn't have the money to smile when they were sick. And so Marty raised $50,000 that day. And around the time that Marty said, if the Reds win 10 games, I'm going to shave my hair off, I said to the Bearcats, I said to Butch Jones, there's a guy called Butch Jones, and Mick Cronin, I said, if the Bearcats basketball team or football team wins 10 in a row, I'm going to shave my hair off. Therefore, I look like this. But hair does grow. So my buddy Butch Jones and his team won 6 games in a row, but then they lost the 7th one, so I still had my hair. And then Mick said, we're going to win the national championship this year. And I said, you should go for it. And then he won 1 game, 4 games, 6 games, 8 games, 10 games. And it actually happened when the UC students were actually not in session. They were on winter break. And I said, they said, when are you going to shave your hair off? And I said, I can't shave my hair off when the students aren't here. I mean, it's all about the students of UC. You know, for me to get my hair shaved off when they're not in session, it's no fun. So I waited for 2 more games. They won 2 more games. They went 12-0. And after the Notre Dame game, I had my hair shortened. I was shorn, if you say. But I learned something from Marty Brennaman. You know, I met those guys from Cincinnati Bell, and they said, Santa, you should do the same thing. You know, it's one thing to encourage your team. That's all well and good. But you need to learn a little bit about Marty Brennaman. You need to learn about this young man called Matt Knightsky. So I went on YouTube, I hope you do too, and I learned a story. It is really, really inspiring. And so, at Fifth Third Arena, after the Notre Dame game, even though the national championship NCAA football team game was going on between Alabama and that other school, Notre Dame, that one coach went up to from UC, I got my hair shaved at Fifth Third Arena. And within 30 minutes, this is a testimony to the University of Cincinnati students. Within 30 minutes, they texted $5 at a time, $1,800, just to students, just by text, 1 student at a time. I'm more proud of that than anything. You know, one of the things that I want to accomplish as president of the University of Cincinnati is that the students there not only have an education of the mind, but they have an education of the heart. You can get a college education anywhere, but what I want to see in all the students that actually graduate, cross that stage and shake my hand, is that they've been transformed, not only to be bright, not only to be members of the workforce, here in Hamilton, in Cincinnati, in the tri-state area, somewhere in the United States, but they have learned to give back, to use their gifts to make the world a better place. Now, the University of Cincinnati community and other friends have raised, remember I said that Marty and the Reds fans raised $30,000. We raised $50,000 for Matt and the Dragonfly Foundation. And that applause should be for Matt, because he was the one who came up with the idea, and the students of the University of Cincinnati, because they have such big hearts. Well, enough about my hair. Hair's boring. You came to hear about the University of Cincinnati. It's an amazing place. It is, as I say on Twitter and on Facebook, the hashtag, the hottest college in America. Have you ever heard me say that? It is an amazing place. You may know that we have 11 programs that are in the top 10 in the country, 11. We have 34 programs that are in the top 50 in the nation. And in the past 2 years, the University of Cincinnati has risen 17 places in U.S. News and World Report, one of the highest climbs of any of the 3,000 colleges in America. Aren't you proud? I am. I'll tell you that like any large organization, we're a $2.6 billion organization. If you look at the university and you look at the Academic Health Center, It's a big business, one of the bigger employers in the area. We have our challenges. And I have a responsibility to navigate this beautiful institution through some of the challenges. One of the challenges you probably have been following has to do with football. Butch Jones was a friend of mine. He's still a friend of mine. I tried awfully hard to keep him here at UC. And was actually pretty hurt because he left the University of Cincinnati for that place called Tennessee. But it's okay because, you know, the job of leaders is to be ready. And Butch is an awfully good football coach, and we knew in the business of college sports that if you're a good coach, you get picked off. And so our job, my job as president and the athletic director with Babcock, who is the best AD in America, is to be ready, to be proactive, to be ready for anything. And we got one heck of a coach, Coach Tommy Tuberville, the 8th most winningest coach that is living today in America. Isn't that awesome? You know, when you're a president of a university, the size of the University of Cincinnati, it's really like a city. There are about 65,000 people that converge upon the UC campus every day. So if you really think about it, the University of Cincinnati is almost like Hamilton in size. So you've got 42,000 students, you've got 16,000 employees, 6,000 faculty, and you have about 12,000 individuals, physicians, doctors, and nurses that converge every day on that little area in Clifton. So it really is a beehive of activity of some amazing people. And, you know, when everybody wanted Butch to stay, and, you know, it took him a long, long time to decide whether he was going to go to Purdue or go to Colorado or go to Tennessee. It took a long time. I thought it was like the LeBron decision, you know. There was actually, it affects the mood, you know. It affects the students, it affects the faculty, because it actually affects the mood of the city. You can feel it. Everybody approaches me and say, how do you feel? And, you know, I got to keep smiling, even though, you know, I'm struggling to try to keep this guy in Cincinnati. And then, you know, when he left, it was hard because I had to stand there with him, and he said goodbye to the team, and then he left. And, you know, they came to the university because of him. And then after he left, there I was, and there was a football team. Some of them were crying, and some of them were angry. Some of them were punching things. And I had to say, you know, the University of Cincinnati, the Bearcats, transcends any single person. The university has been around since 1819, and I want you to go to the Belk Bowl and win it for yourselves. It's not about me. It's not about your coach. It's about you. Those 10 wins you've gotten, you've done it with your own hard work, with your own perspiration, your own aches to your body, your own conviction. It's about you. And they went to that game. Any of you watched that game? They didn't have many coaches. You could tell they were struggling because there weren't many coaches there, because, you know, when a coach leaves, his players are still there, the coaching staff is really depleted, and you could really see that our team, that in many ways was a lot stronger than Duke's, they were a little confused, you know? There were communications problems from the coaches up in the upper deck and the coaches on the field. But boy, am I proud. Did you see it? Did you see what they did? They came back. You know, I said to them before the game, it's about you. Remember that. Nobody can take away what you've accomplished, and today is about you. And boy, was I proud of what they did to win the Belk Bowl. Well, let me tell you a little bit about UC. It's not only about football. UC is a stunning institution with 14 colleges. We have the Dean of Pharmacy, Bill Fant, there. James Winkle over there, next to Bill Fant. Could you please stand up? Our College of Pharmacy is named after you, James Winkle. It's really a remarkable place. Those 11 programs that are top 10 in the country span the classics, paleontology, the only university that's allowed to dig in Pompeii, design, architecture, art, planning, musical theater, inflammation research, pediatrics, emergency medicine, the list just goes on and on and on. We have a remarkable College of Business, the Lindner College of Business, and the list goes on and on and on. It's great to see so many Bearcats in the audience today. A good friend of mine, at least it's okay if I call you a friend, Andrew Knabb, who all of you seem to know for some reason, is a political science major and the son of Hamilton City Council member back there and his lovely wife. As I said, so is James Winkle, the UC alumnus of the College of Pharmacy and a very generous supporter of UC. Our College of Pharmacy is, in fact, named after him, and as you saw, our Dean of the Pharmacy School, Bill Fant, is a native of Hamilton. So there's a lot of connectivity between Hamilton and UC. And Charlie Bauer is really the reason I'm here. He's a UC contributor who I met at a Bearcats football game. Perhaps I'd better stop there since I'm standing in, I guess, some of you are Miami University alums. Beyond this room in Hamilton, UC has a deep connection to Hamilton, Ohio, and Butler County. More than 600 of our current students have Hamilton home addresses. 600 of our current students, some of your sons and daughters. More than 3,000 UC students call Butler County home, and over 18,000 residents of Butler County are UC alumni, as I said, way more than Dayton. Your chamber president, Kenny Craig, has told me quite a lot about the hard work you're doing here in our region's second largest city to develop a strong workforce. I want to congratulate you on this vitally important focus because there's nothing more important to economic development than having an educated and well-prepared workforce. I'm not exactly impartial about that, but one of the reasons I chose to work in higher education is because I believe so deeply in the power of education to transform lives, to create opportunity, and to help people gain economic well-being. Higher education is among our society's greatest tools for social mobility. It remains one of our nation's greatest assets, benefiting not just the individual graduate, but all of society, because a college graduate is more likely to be civically engaged, especially if they're getting an education of the heart along with the mind, to stay out of jail and in trouble, and to earn more money than someone who has only a high school diploma. Not only that, college graduates suffer lower rates of unemployment than those with no college degree. The challenge, however, that the United States is dealing with is one, the cost of higher education, we've talked about that, and the fact that the number of our young adults who are going to college is now falling below average compared to the rest of the globe. We now are number 13 in the world. And the Center on Education and the Workforce indicates that we're not producing enough graduates in this country to fill needed jobs, especially in the STEM disciplines. We cannot graduate enough STEM-educated college graduates to fill the jobs that we'll need for our nation to be competitive. Now, I've been asked by members of the federal government to serve on the Council of National Competitiveness because we all recognize that making college education affordable and fixing this trend where we're not graduating enough STEM-educated college graduates is of national importance. Our studies indicate that by 2018, we will need 22 million new college degrees, but that we will fall short of that if we do not correct this situation by at least 3 million people. So the work that you are doing here in Hamilton with Miami University and we hope with the University of Cincinnati to encourage more people to get a college degree is essential and I applaud the work of this Chamber of Commerce. It's vitally important. And at UC, we are trying to do more to help. We've met with Kenny, and I'm serious about my interest in working with you. This is the second largest city in the region, and we want to work with you. Over the past several years, UC's graduation rates have been improving dramatically. We're investing more time and resources into programs that help students make it easier to transition to college life during their first year. And we are referring students who do not possess the skills to be successful in our 4-year programs to begin at our regional campuses in Blue Ash or Claremont County or at Cincinnati State, and then make a seamless transition to our 4-year program once they get the footing that they need. There used to be a time, maybe some of you remember it, when you go to college and the dean or the professor would say, look to your right and look to your left. You may be the only one who graduates. Remember that? That is no longer acceptable for the University of Cincinnati. It's no longer acceptable for this country. Our highly respected and copied cooperative education program, which in fact was the first co-op program in the world, also is an effective way to keep students in college. It puts students to work in real job experiences, in jobs where employers pay them for their work, and gives them an edge when they look for a job. We cannot lose focus of the fact that when we accept students into the university, that we have to do everything we can to get them a job when they graduate. At the University of Cincinnati, UC students last year earned $44 million a year on their co-op experiences, not each single student, but in aggregate. And in the upcoming year, well, maybe Andrew, maybe you earned $50 million, I don't know. But in this upcoming year, UC students will earn $50 million. And that, coupled with our $68 million in financial aid, is really a significant level of support for our students. Co-op programs do take 5 years rather than 4, but students find the extra year is well worth the experience because they have a significant advantage when it comes to landing a job. At UC, we also founded a program that is very unique, which targets first-generation college students. The University of Cincinnati was founded as a municipal university. It was a place where many of you, many of your ancestors, your predecessors, many members of this community, 100,000, were the first in their family to obtain a college education. And for many of you, many of your parents or your grandparents, it really was the path for upward mobility in life. So we've invested in something called the Generation One House that we're really proud of. It's a residence that provides extra guidance, extra rules, and a house mom so that the first generation college students that we accept, they have to live by rules. We're strict with them because we want them to succeed. We want them to graduate, even though they have not benefited from the kinds of schools that prepare students to succeed in college. It's a program that is experiencing success with these students who are at high risk of dropping out, and they are graduating from the University of Cincinnati at the same levels as students that have gone to a public school in an affluent area or a private boarding school. We also started a program with Hamilton County, the first program of its kind in the nation that targets foster children, orphan children, to encourage them to go to college. For foster children who are emancipated by the age of 18, they are in many cases more likely to wind up in jail than to go to college. And that's something that is no good for us, no good for society. And so we focused on these kids. It's time to turn this problem around, especially in the inner cities, and we are doing our best to make a positive impact on their lives. At UC, we also recognize that the challenge we face is not just one of higher education. It starts much earlier than that. And I am personally involved, as some of you know, in a nationwide effort to make sure that children know how to read by the 3rd grade. It's called Read On. That milestone, the 3rd grade of reading proficiency, by the end of the 3rd grade, is one of the most important predictors of high school and college graduation. And we are losing too many young minds because they can't read by the 3rd grade. Our program in the area called Read On is working to increase awareness of the need for 3rd grade reading proficiency, to reduce absenteeism and truancy in our schools, to improve school readiness and increase summer learning opportunities. This is a problem all over the state of Ohio. Read On is part of the STRIVE partnership, which UC co-founded. STRIVE is working across sectors, including education, business, and civic organizations to improve the educational pipeline from birth to career. It is making slow but steady progress. For example, kindergarten readiness in Cincinnati has improved by 13% since the UC-founded STRIVE initiative began in 2006. We are making a difference. Again, let me close by saying that I congratulate you, the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce, the Community Foundation, and the City of Hamilton for collaborating to make an impact on the economic development in Butler County by creating the Hamilton Education and Workforce Center, a center that strives to meet students where their needs are, no matter what their age. We applaud you. And as the president of the University of Cincinnati, let me say again to you, Kenny, that we want to be your partner. These really are imperative issues for our country's future competitiveness. We must act now and try new strategies. The alternative is to stay stuck in the same place and to lose our competitiveness to other countries. I want to assure you that the University of Cincinnati shares your concerns for the future of our region and that we are working hard so that we can remain competitive nationally and internationally. It is really a privilege for me to be in front of you today. You inspire us, and I am here to say that we will be your partner. Thank you very much.
I just have one question for you. How do you do this? You get up here, you had your reading glasses on there, but you didn't have them on up here. I got to ask you about that afterwards.
21 font.
21 font. Well, I don't have 21 font.
Now you know for next year.
I want to thank you, Dr. Ono, for your inspiring comments. Your enthusiasm for what you're doing is obvious to all of us. I think that you can see he loves what he's doing. If somebody loves their job, it comes through. I want to thank you for your willingness to say you want to partner with us. We're looking forward to pursuing that. I can tell you everything we do at the Chamber really is based on partnerships. We are, after all, a membership-driven organization, and all of you are our partners. Obviously, the city is our partner. The Community Foundation, the newly developed Core Fund, and so many more. And we couldn't do the work we're doing without moving together to get this work done. And I'm sure at UC, you got to work with a lot of other people to get things done. And we look forward in 2013, if my voice holds out, to getting things done in 2013. Things like meeting the workforce needs of businesses. Things like advocating to all levels of government on behalf of businesses. And also to present the most business-friendly environment that we can to spur economic development. But we've got to work together to do that. We're already doing that. We know we have a lot more hard work to do, but we look forward to doing it. So some of our partners, some of the people I want to thank tonight before we get into the Citizen of the Year presentation. First, I want to thank John for your leadership this year as chair. It's been a pleasure. You know you're not going anywhere. We're going to see each other all the time anyway, but thanks so much for your leadership. I want to recognize the staff of the Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce. We really do appreciate all the hard work that you do. Staff members, I'm going to make you stand, and please hold your applause to the end. And so I don't know where anybody's at, but Nancy O'Neill, would you please stand? Great work in putting this together tonight. See, it didn't work. Suzanne Tullis, I have no idea where you're at, standing back here. Tammy Walton is standing back here. April Martini, over in the corner. And Laura Merrill. Laura. And speaking of Laura, Laura was our designee this year, helping with the Ice Fest. Many of us pitched in and helped with that, and I know Tim Knabb is sitting out there some. You can't see up here with all the lights, but Tim Knabb sitting out there. It was a great partnership this year. Great job, Tim, to you and your committee for putting that on. Let's give Tim a hand for that. I also want to recognize some of our volunteers this evening. You make a difference. The volunteers, the members that come to many of our meetings each week help us get our work done. And tonight I want to give a couple of awards to some special volunteers. The first one is a person who referred a lot of new members to the Chamber this year. We're a membership organization. We need to grow to thrive. You look at any organization, if you're not growing, you're going backwards. So we need the help of all of our members. The first award we call the New Member Referral Partner of the Year Award. Somebody who's referred several members to the Chamber throughout 2012. And this year's award winner for referring the most members in the 2012 New Member Referral Partner of the Year is Cindy Troutwine of First Financial Bank. Cindy, please come forward. Congratulations. Thanks so much. No, you know, it's true we couldn't have been the leading voice of business for 103 years in this community without volunteers, without people that helped us out, worked in partnership. And each year we do recognize our Ambassador of the Year, somebody that we feel is our top helper for that year. And this year it really is special because it's a small business. I think, Sue, you're a one-person shop, couple-person shop. Most of our businesses are small businesses. And this year, our 2012 Greater Hamilton Chamber of Commerce Ambassador of the Year is Sue Morin from Gorman Specialty Group. Sue, please come forward and accept this award. She's really accepting this award on behalf of everybody else that volunteers throughout the year. So thanks so much for helping us throughout 2012. You know, as we move forward to the Citizen of the Year presentation and recognize someone I've learned firsthand who truly is deserving of this award this year, I want to thank all of you for continuing to support the Chamber and being here tonight. It means a lot. It's really a sight to stand up here and see so many people that are here to support the community and the Chamber. We value your support. We value your partnership. And now we have some past Citizens of the Year in the attendance tonight. I'd like to recognize them. And when I call your names, we're going to do it again. Please stand and hold your applause to the end. Sure, right? Jack and Shirley Moser. I don't know if I saw them, but over here. Pat Carruthers. He's going to stand. Let's give him a moment. Jerry Hammond. Over this way. Bill Wilkes. Bob Weigel. And last year's award recipient, Don Ryan. Don. We also have a Lifetime Achievement Award recipient in the attendance this evening, and that's Dave Blue. Dave, please stand.
Good evening. It's an honor and a privilege for me to be here this evening to introduce to some and present to others the 2012 Hamilton Citizen of the Year, Mike Dingledine. One of the great things about being a journalist is that you get to meet all kinds of different and interesting people, and you get an opportunity to share their amazing and inspiring stories with thousands of readers each and every day. And it's difficult to sum up the life and accomplishments of a man like Mike Dingledine and do it justice in 20 column inches in a newspaper article or in a 6-minute video like the one you're about to see in a moment. But we've tried our best to do that. For more than 20 years, Mike has been working to make Hamilton a better place to live, work, and play. Whether it's through his breathtakingly creative architectural projects or his civic involvement and service on various boards and committees, Mike has given generously of his time and talents, all in an effort to make this great city of Hamilton better tomorrow than it is today. Words like committed, dedicated, persistent, attentive, creative, and humble are used to describe Mike. Mike was born in Hamilton in 1961, the second of 3 children to Norm and Carol Dingledine. His father was a pharmacist and owner of Beeler Drugs, which he purchased the same year Mike was born. Mike graduated from Talawanda High School and went on to Miami University, where he received both his bachelor's and master's degrees in architecture. Mike began working the Monday after he graduated in 1984 at Steed, Hammond, and Paul. His first school project as an architect was working on Freedom Elementary in the Lakota District in 1985. He would later go on to lead the design of Hamilton's 8 new elementary schools, Hamilton Freshman School, and the renovations of other schools within the district. Mike has formed his own firm, Community Design Alliance, and is the executive director of the Core Fund here in Hamilton. He has been instrumental in a number of community projects, including the extension of Hamilton's bike path and the redevelopment of the Journal News building, a project that obviously is very near and dear to our hearts. All of his accomplishments are made that much sweeter, I'm sure, by the love and support of his wife, Cindy, and his 2 twin daughters, Isabel and Emma. I could go on, but I will let the video presentation say the rest. But I will leave you with these words spoken by Mike Dingledine in a recent interview with the Journal News' Richard O. Jones. You don't get involved for awards and recognition, but to make a difference. The best part of it is that you're standing shoulder to shoulder with people who are making a difference. We are making it happen, all of us. Ladies and gentlemen, our video.
Things are just happening in Hamilton, and it's mainly because of Mike Dingledine.
In sports terms, he'd be a go-to guy. He'd be a most valuable player in this area, no doubt about that.
Mike inspires people. People like to work with and for Mike.
I think he knows what Hamilton was, and I think he has a vision of what Hamilton can be again.
He's a good leader, a good visionary, and sets a fine example for other citizens in the community.
For all his talents and accomplishments, Mike Dingledine is the humblest guy you'll ever meet.
He's the ideal person to help us move economic development projects forward.
There's nobody else better in the city that's going to help us to bring these buildings back to life.
Six and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and...
Mike loves Hamilton, and I think you see that in the work that he does. I think you see that in the involvement that he has in all of the projects, and I think you see that in the results that are there from his projects.
It's hard to find a committee or organization in the city of Hamilton in which Mike Dingledine is not involved.
It seems that Mike is able to take all these different organizations and groups and projects he's involved in, keep them straight in his mind, and deliver real results.
When you look at 2012, what comes to my mind are how we've improved our High Street downtown. And when you think about Mike's connection with that, you think his architectural firm on High Street. You think the Journal News building and the way that's developed into an educational center. You think about the Core Fund and the launch of the Core Fund, which will truly benefit our downtown areas as well as the entire city. And you see Mike's name attached to all those projects, and that's why it's the year of Mike, and it should be for 2012.
He has this vision about taking an idea and taking a concept and being able to put it down on paper, and then presenting it to people and getting people excited about that deal.
Mike's not only a professional, and he can not only visualize how something can get done, but when the plan is put in place, you're also going to see Mike rolling up his shirt sleeves, getting busy, and doing whatever it takes to work with others to make projects happen.
Mike combines his intellect with his modesty. He very quietly can bring a group together or focus on a subject or a need, and you don't even realize it until you stop to think, you know, Mike is making this happen.
And he does this not because he has to, but he does this because he wants to make the community a better place. I think he believes in Hamilton. I think he sees brighter days ahead for Hamilton, and I think he wants to be a part of that. He wants to be a leader of that, and I'm thankful that he's out there doing it because he really does make a major impact in our community.
Typically, when I go into these old cities, and especially ones that have a lot of great historic fabric, the toughest thing is getting other people to see your vision. And it was really nice to hook up with Mike. I had to do like zero selling on what Hamilton has. I mean, he was right there with me every step of the way. Not only did he help us with the historic mercantile lofts, when he walked into the place, he said, "I love it. I want to put my offices here." And I mean, really decided to put his stake in downtown Hamilton, which was huge, not only for us, but I think for the city.
He's a problem solver. He's a guy who, if somebody comes and says, this really can't be done, Mike will say, let's sit down and look at it. We can figure out a way to solve this problem.
Mike's blunt in a good way. He says exactly what he thinks, kind of cuts through all the fancy language and says, this is what I think, this is why I think about it.
But he's also very tolerant of other people's opinions. It doesn't have to be Mike's way. He's very willing to listen to other ideas, incorporate others' ideas, and find the best plan that's brought to the table.
I feel very good about Mike's leadership and what it means for the future of Hamilton. He has a true love for our city, and he and Cindy together have a passion to make good things happen.
You can't do what Mike does and what some of our super volunteers do and not love where you live, as well as see the potential that Hamilton has. And if you love Hamilton now, you're going to love Hamilton in the future, and Mike's a big part of developing that potential into an area which will continue to be and even become even a better place to live, work, and play. Really, it's all true. Mike's an amazing guy. And you got to put Cindy in there too. I mean, I know Mike got the award, but you know what? You need a special family and special support of a wife and your friends around you who will let you do those things, because the hours that he must put in during the day are amazing. I mean, I just know it. I mean, I'll show up at a meeting, there's Mike.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us stand on our feet and recognize our Hamilton 2012 Citizen of the Year, Mike Dingledine.
To Dr. Ono, 18 points, so I'm doing a little better. This is amazing, and that's hard to watch. I spoke Wednesday at the City Council meeting. I spoke Thursday at Rotary. When I talk about architecture of buildings, that's easy, but this is hard, and this is different. I was pretty impressed with Dr. Ono's comments, and certainly the connection to Bearcat Nation in Hamilton, but I think I should do my part and say that Miami Redskin Nation is alive and well in Hamilton, so let's hear for it. I do owe the greatest debt of my life to UC because it brought my wife to this part of the state, so that's great. I've told my kids they're welcome to go to UC, but if they do, Mom's paying, Dad's only paying for Miami. Again, this is hard. It's not my comfort level, even though I'm comfortable speaking in front of people, but certainly not about myself, and watching that was amazing. So thanks to the Journal News, and thanks to Nick, who did that video. It's amazing. I'm also amazed at the outpouring of support I've gotten in the last month. People sent cards, people sent emails, people sent texts, people approached me in the grocery store. That's cool. It's cool to know that people do notice and people do pay attention to what's going on. And as I said, and Archie quoted me, standing shoulder to shoulder with people is what it's all about. It's a big deal. And that's kind of my not so profound or not so provocative thesis for tonight, is that we're not really doing this stuff out of duty. We're not really doing this stuff out of the what or when. It's really to do it together with other people. And that is kind of comes to me true by 3 different points. And the first point is everything has changed in our world. It changes constantly. I don't think we're ever going to go back to the good old days. Certainly our economy's changed. Our city government is struggling with new budget realities. But I think there's an upside or a silver lining to all that, and that is the big ability of abundance that we all lived with for so many years is probably gone. And what I think the good side of that is we're going to have to learn how to be better neighbors and live locally again. And so that whole idea of work, live, and play in our own community is really exciting to me. I think it's going to be good for us, and I think it's been forced upon us by bad things happening. And that brings me to the second point. The true blessing in life don't come from abundance. If anybody feels like having good things is what makes us most happy, I think they're missing it, because I think what we're really blessed by is who we share life with and who we do things with. And so I don't participate in a lot of things out of a sense of duty. I participate in a lot of things out of a sense of doing them with everybody else in this room, and everybody else in this room participates. And I think that's a cool thing about Hamilton that I really, really appreciate. As an architect, I love to say I've had a blast doing what I do. And again, it isn't about buildings, it isn't about architecture, it's about clients and coworkers. I have a whole table of coworkers here tonight from SHP. I appreciate them being here. 29 years of my life was spent there, and I'll talk about why that's changed a little bit here. And then the third point, and I think the point that's most important, is about what life does to us. Opportunity and fate kind of pull us along through life. And my friend Pastor John changes that from the secular version of fate to what's God's path for us in this life. And it isn't always good things, and we couldn't script it, we couldn't predict it. It's something that happens to us no matter what we think or want, but it changes us profoundly. And so, life is good and bad. It's hard to see, it's harder to understand, and I guess I've learned at this point in my life, at 52, that I've stopped trying to learn the mysteries of life. I've just tried to let them sort of happen to me. And so it occurs to me that as I sit up here today, a handful of very small, very subtle things happened in my life that put me where I am today, and certainly probably put me up here on this stage. My parents decided in 1970 to hire Steedham and Paul to design their home. Seemed like a small thing at the time, but it certainly changed my life, as you all know. I went to college at Purdue for a year in engineering, and I was unsure that I was doing the right thing. And so my father said, go see Jim Steed. If you think you want to do something different, maybe he can help you. Well, obviously, we all know where that went. Jim hired me in 1984, and about 3 weeks earlier, he hired a Youngstown Bearcat graduate, Cindy Kilpatrick. And I'll get to more of that in a minute. But I think the big turning point, and the one that involves a lot of people in this room, was when I was 26 years old. And if you do the math, that was 26 years ago when I was 26 years old. Andy Paul and Jerry Hammond came to my desk and said, tighten up your belt, straighten up your tie, we're going to a meeting. That meeting is for the newly formed Bicentennial Commission for Hamilton. And I walked into a room over at Beckett Paper with Bill Beckett, Tom Rentschler, Joe Markham, Dave Ballou, Dick Fitton, Pat Carruthers, Chuck Rush, Joel Schmidt, and Cindy Parrish. One good woman in the room made a big difference. I was intimidated by these people, but they were very kind to me, and they impressed me, and they became mentors to me. And in fact, I don't think it's an accident that 3 people in the room that day were the ones who nominated me for tonight. So I appreciate that. I appreciate all of them, because all of them really kind of changed my life at that point. I got back to the office. We worked through the Bicentennial Commission for a couple years. That turned into the Fitton Center project. I got to do that project. I was given a lot of faith and hope from my bosses. And Jerry Hammond came to me and said, "Isn't that impressive, working with these kinds of people?" And I said, "Yes, it is." And he not only allowed me to do that more, he encouraged me. He said, "This is what you should really try to do with your life. It isn't about the work, it's about what difference you make in your community." And I thank him for that. He's not here for me to say that to tonight, but I did get to tell him that several times. And it really did make a difference. So I joined the Fitton Center board, and I joined other boards, and it was really that stepping stone that made a difference. 29 years I worked for that firm, and now there's something different happening, and you got to say, what's up with that? And I will tell you by a story I want to share that I've never shared with anybody, that I shared a conversation with Donna Carruthers when we were building the Carruthers Ballroom at the Fitton Center. And I said to Donna, "This is great. Look what you're doing in this town. Look how much difference you're making." And she had a great quote, which I'll never forget. She said, "You know what? Pat's a Glendale boy. He never owed a damn thing to Hamilton, Ohio. But he took my own hometown as his own, and look what's happened." I always remember that. And isn't that great? So I'm going to borrow from Donna, and I'm going to say, Cindy's a Youngstown girl, but she took my own hometown as her own, and look what's happened. If there's any kind of head fake tonight about why I've done what I've done, it's because she was willing to do all the things that I wanted to do here in Hamilton and be part of that. And if you want to know why, after 29 years in a firm, I've changed my direction, it's not just about the city of Hamilton, it's about being in business with her again. And people are saying, "Do you really go to work every day with your wife?" And I say proudly, "Yes, I do." And so we're in this together. We really want to be a part of this community. She more than I, in many ways. And she puts up with a lot in terms of the time it takes for us to raise a family and to do all the things we do. So I want to kind of end with a lyric from the musical Rent. It was written by Jonathan Larson, and he ironically died before the show ever made it to the stage. But his quote was, and this really makes me think about your friend Matt, "There's only us, there's only this, forget regret, or life is yours to miss. No other road, no other way, no day like today." So we have to take advantage of the things we need to do today. And to Mayor Pat Moeller, another famous movie quote, "There's no place like home," and Hamilton, Ohio is our home. Thank you very, very much.
So before we close, I want to say congratulations to Mike and Cindy and Emma and Isabel. And the city of Hamilton is so fortunate to have your precious little family in our midst. We are so proud of you all. Before we adjourn tonight, it's my privilege to give special thanks to our annual event sponsor, Community First Solutions, to our presenting sponsor, Miller Coors, our sponsors, Butler Tech, First Financial Bank, Fort Hamilton Hospital, Mercy Health, Fairfield Hospital, U.S. Bank. Thanks also to our supporting sponsor, DeCosimo and Company. And also thanks go out to the Courtyard by Marriott, Cox Ohio Media Group, Noonan's Party Store for our wine tonight, Art Off Sims for the artwork on some of the tables, and I understand some of this may be for sale at the front desk after this event, and of course to TV Hamilton. Thank you all for coming tonight. Safe travels home, and our annual meeting is adjourned. Thank you.